What's going on, everybody? Today is Thursday, March 6th. I meant to start saying the episode numbers because we're at an impressive number of episodes, but alas, I forgot to do that. Next week, maybe. But we've got a final 16. We had our second boot of Survivor 48, and it was an unexpected one.
It was.
Even sitting at Tribal Council, I thought, Justin kind of mentioned in passing the plan that ended up happening. But Say is ruthless. You say her name one time, a little bit of a Boston Rob action where saying her name is you've signed your death wish and it's going to be sooner rather than later. And I don't love her or the style, but it's proven effective through 2 weeks.
Well,
on this try,
yeah,
it's proven
that
effective.
was that was gonna be my qualifier. I even said out loud to Alyssa as they went to vote, "Well, this shouldn't be Kevin. He didn't say anything at tribal." I was proven wrong immediately. But yeah, it is effective with these. It is effective against bad people. People who are bad at Survivor, this is effective against. Which makes sense, right? Because if you're not good at the game, you're not driving the game, and you're perpetually of that as long as it's not me mentality. They have no ambitions to be in those driver seats, so yeah, her strategy works well. And I don't think it's an insight on her part to say these people are not good at the game, so I can use this strategy to manipulate them. I think she's just always like that, and it just happened to be what worked out here. That's why I don't think she's good. Not because I don't think she had the insight to take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because I think we saw a couple times now, it's becoming apparent, it's sort of a theme for her that she really struggles to hold her emotions in. I think it was apparent last week, but we had a couple kind of pointed references to it where Cedric, so he knows she's being targeted by Kevin, and he goes to Say, and he says, all right, can you hold your emotions in check right now? Because I'm about to tell you something, like, you can't freak out right now, pretty much, was his thought. And she's like, yeah, I can. And he tells her, and she spirals. Like, you could tell that later on, Justin's like, hey, so Say doesn't trust Kevin anymore. And he's like, you can see the look on his face. It's like, I wonder where she got that.
Yeah,
I wonder where she got that from. So, yeah, I think there, and also in Tribal Council, I think that she's, like, last week she kind of went head to head with Stephanie. This week it was Mary and Kevin. She's over aggressive and she says, like, way too much. And it just seems that I think she knows she's on the road to recovery. She knows that she is making a mistake when she, like, overshares her, like, inside thoughts, right?
Right.
But then she knows she messes up, and then she doubles down.
That's what I was gonna say. She doubles down on them.
Right. So I think, I don't care if 2 people on a 6-person tribe trust her. You can't convince me that she's a good player. There's people, her and Danielle on the Traders are the two, like,
I would imagine there's similar groups of people.
Major hating going on both of them right now. And I think the big defenders of that are like, oh, you guys have said for so long there's no villains, now you have them, and now you're complaining about them. First of all, that's the point, right? It's like you're hoping for someone to hate, so when you have them, you hate them, right? That's kind of the deal.
You hope for someone. There's a difference between. The difference is we're hoping for villains who are good at the game.
Yeah.
Like, you can be a villainous player and be good. It's no fun to watch a villainous player who's bad. I think that's the complaint with Danielle on the Traders, is that I'm fine not liking people. I've voiced my opinion many times on this podcast about players I don't like. but that I feel like I'm clear that like I'm clear when I say I don't like them versus I don't think their gameplay is good. I feel like I make that distinction.
Hmm.
Um, Danielle and Say are both bad. That's the issue I have with them. I don't care that they're villains at all. I like a villain. I would be a villain on Survivor, I imagine. I have nothing
And you would
against it.
get
I
dragged.
would get dragged. That's fine. I can handle it. But my issue is that she's not good. That's the issue.
Yeah, I think the a 6-person tribe, it can kind of become an echo chamber like really fast, where there's like Cedric, for example, and we'll get into the move proper in a second here, but Cedric, this move actually kind of works out well for him because there's so few people that there's only 4 people left now, and he's now worked pretty close strategically with Justin, and he also seems to be Say's greatest personal relationship.
Right.
So he is like in a great spot right now. But when there's so few people, you only need 1 or 2 people to agree with you for that to become the status quo, and then all like her from day one has been right in her mind because there's always been numbers of she's always had numbers, which means in her mind everyone is agreeing with everything that she's saying because she deals in such absolutes like a
Right.
Sith.
She is. That's great. I was gonna point that out if you didn't end with that. I figured that's why why you phrased it that way. But she does. That's a perfect way to describe her, Marty. She,
Mart.
she does just deal in absolutes. Like that's how she opened up Tribal this week. Was you know uh, Mary's on the outs. We have a core 4. Mary's on the outs. And I don't see the problem with saying that because we're just gonna vote her out 4-1 anyway.
Right.
Like it's ever that
This
easy.
is dude, she was doing Danielle Reyes where she knew she was voting Kyle out and she's like, I'm gonna really act it here. I'm gonna make it seem
Kevin.
like I suck. Like I'm really stupid and I'm blabbing the plan
Yeah.
and I'm just a terrible player. But in reality, well, if it's so believable, maybe it's because it's a little true, right?
Yeah. And this tribe as a whole just irks me in general
Mm-hmm.
because they're so convoluted in the way they decide to do things. And it's convoluted. Like, that's something that frustrates me about modern Survivor, and I think it does stem from just like how long the show's been on and trying to innovate strategy and the, casting people who are super fans, which I partly blame production for that, but I partly don't because 95% of the people applying to be on Survivor are super fans. People back in the day would apply because they wanted to be on TV or
Yeah, it's the most popular thing on, right?
for whatever reason, right? Like before it took off, which was pretty soon, but I feel like nowadays like it's not as popular as it was. It's not like everyone in America is sitting down Wednesday nights and watching Survivor like it was for the first however many years. Like it has this more of a cult following now, so you're still getting a lot of applicants because it's still a popular show, but the applicants you are getting are the people who really are like super fans of the game. So like I can't entirely fault production for casting super fans because that's most of what they see. And that's what they want to put on the shows, right? Like they want to put the fans of the show on the show. I get that. Um, but I think the reason we see this convolutedness a lot in the pre-merge is because that so many people are super fans and they're trying to innovate the game and they're always want to make the best possible move always for their game for to make a big move to show other people that they know the game that they're good at the game like and it just ends up being this most of the time which is like you convolute yourselves into taking out a threat two votes into the season but in reality, like for everyone, it probably was the best move to vote out Mary. Like there was,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you had the votes 4-0. It would end up being. There's no reason Kevin didn't even pitch like, hey, let's vote. Like there was no active threat to or reason to do that. I didn't think. And I mean, he makes a good pitch if you want to vote for say like that in my opinion is the right call. If Justin and Cedric wanted to go with him and Mary on that and vote for Say, I think that is the better gameplay because Say is bossy. She's not gonna like it if you ever don't do what she wants to. She has an idol. Like I think that's probably the best move. But I guess it does come down to like Cedric has a better relationship with Say, so maybe he does want to keep her around. But I don't know. I just feel like this vote was very, very convoluted strategy wise, that it wasn't the best move for anyone this week, that day, really. So that was a long winded way of saying I thought it should have been Mary, or if, I really thought it should have been Say, but it probably should have been Mary.
Yeah, so I think to your point, I think the my biggest frustration with this tribe is other than Mary, every single person, their decision this episode contradicted their decision last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Where, okay, if you wanna play it safe and vote out the kind of wacky girl Stephanie last week, that's fine. If you want to take a big swing and you vote out Kevin this week, that's fine. But Justin and Kevin, this is why I have no this is why I have no sympathy for Kevin in this situation. He had this move in front of him last week with a game Justin, and they decided not to do it. When Say was completely unsuspecting, and you can then go back, you're seemingly building a relationship with Mary. Stephanie would obviously be super grateful to you, and she really wants to work with Mary. You have a built-in 3 before you even keep Justin around, before you even reach back out to Cedric, right? You have kind of everything you need, and they opt to not do that. They vote out Stephanie, and then immediately after the vote, I think he has a little bit of like buyer's remorse about the fact that they didn't pull off the move. I guess it would be seller's remorse,
Mm-hmm.
but about the fact that they didn't make the move, because then immediately tries to start setting that move up, and he does do a lot of, he wants Say to vote for Mary, and they're all going to vote for Say, and he tells Mary, don't worry about it, I'm going to do it, and he goes to Justin's like, hey, we almost just did this, let's do it now, and it eventually finds its way to the grapevine to Say, where she plays her idol, which is a whole other thing that you could debate Cedric's decision to tell her to do that, pretty much. But yeah, so I thought that was contradictory. I thought Justin, it's really contradictory. I don't understand why he essentially co-created this move last week, and then this week, and they decide not to do it. Then this week, Kevin says it again, and Justin's like, this is way too threatening. I got to get rid of this guy. And I don't know what changed. They really felt like they should be together playing the middle on this tribe, and instead Justin, I saw a lot of people kind of applauding this because Justin, he was the one who suggested it, and it was a blindside, and Kevin is seemingly a pretty strong player. But I just didn't get the logic, because now Say and Cedric, that's the insulated duo. They'll decide who goes 3-1 next week. Although, speaking of Cedric, I wonder if Say is going to have any blowback to the fact that he was like, play your idol, and then she didn't need to. I think I could see her taking it as Cedric is really looking out for me. I'm so thankful I have an ally like Cedric. I could also see her being like, why does my own ally want me to get rid of my idol? I don't think I trust him anymore. And I could see him getting voted out. And I see this tribe continuing to go to tribal council, and Justin and Cedric, I truly believe if this tribe goes to another tribal council, it will be one of the two of them. I don't think it's going to be Mary, and I don't think it's going to be Say. I think exactly what just happened to Kevin, where they say, ooh, he's playing a little too hard. Well, guess what? You both just made a really aggressive move against a pit bull, or not against a pit bull, but with a pit bull who has a thirst for blood, I would say.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it could be either one of them.
Yeah, I would guess that they go again. I mean, that's the pit you dig yourself into if you're bad at challenges. If everyone on your
Yeah, that's the other
team
aspect of
is
this.
bad at challenges, then you're getting the best four from everyone else.
Hmm.
So
Against your objectively at
worse
least
than last
bottom
week.
five of your original six with
Possibly
Kevin gone.
bottom. This is bottom four now. I would probably say out of.
I don't know how Stephanie was at challenges. I would
Okay.
say she's probably not the second best out of that original six, but she's probably not the worst. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think they go
She's
again.
definitely not the worst because Cedric
Yeah.
exists now that I
Yeah.
think of it. He's so
He's
terrible at
so bad.
challenges.
So bad. I think they yeah, I think they go again, and I don't know what happens, to be honest. I hope they get down to a tribe of two and they get
Me too.
dispersed. And then they just get voted out by the other tribes. I don't like any of them. I think yeah, I am not a Kevin apologist. That wasn't my point before. I think he's also bad. I think he's maybe one of the better players out of this group. Not saying much. Um,
He's a
I
good, like, he could get through the game on his social
yeah, he
prowess.
could. Yeah. Um, you're right. There was no material change from last week to this week, so the strategy shouldn't change either. You're in
Yeah.
the same boat. Everyone voted. You now have a clear bottom left out person again. It should be that person again. I don't understand when they do too much. I don't know. I I want to make this point before too, but I forgot that say when she plays her idol says I'm playing this for my grandma, and I would if I fucking got idled out by that, you better believe the lawyers are hearing it because Say's grandma did not get any votes. And if I got idled out, I would like to see the legal terminology on that because she how idols are supposed to be played in the Survivor bylaws. She said, "I'm playing this for my grandma." I want to make that point.
Absolutely. He was robbed. Kevin was
Kevin was.
robbed,
We
except
didn't
he
get idled
also got
out.
the most
Yeah,
votes.
I meant if I had gotten idled out in that position, I would have thrown a stink.
Sure.
I would
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
thrown.
Um, but yeah, couple other things from this. Another very self-serious thing about Say is when she does the core four thing, and it's obviously it's a faux pas, right, in Survivor to say that, but I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily to say in these circumstances because her and Mary, not only are they not allies, they're clearly at odds on a personal level, and I think if you're beefing in the open, anything like that is fine to say. Um, but when she says, "Yeah, we have a core four," and Kevin, with a smirk on his face, he's like, "Oh, you outed us." And then she's like, "You did that a couple days ago," and then keeps talking, and then later references it again. She's like, "Kevin says that I outed us. I don't know about like," and he just says, "A joke," and it's, but then she spins it into like, this is Say's like philosophy session. Like you're gonna learn how to play the game because I know how to play the game.
It's just she just thinks she's so much better at the game than she is, and I think that's what really bothers me.
Yeah.
Is that she thinks she's so good at it, and it's really bothering me because it's working and it shouldn't be working.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like it.
That happens every once in a while. I mean, that's I'm gonna keep tying this back to the Traders finale is tonight, and
Mm-hmm.
there's it's reminiscent of Danielle, where it's like she sucked for so long, but there was always Rob was in the game, and it's essentially she could have fucked off the entire time, and as long as Rob kept himself alive, no one else was gonna get targeted.
Right.
Um, and I think that's a thing that people miss with her game. But yeah, it's a similar thing where, and we've seen it before in Survivor, where you're like, this person is failing upwards in the worst way, and I can't stand it.
Yeah.
But it's happening, and there's nothing I can do about it
You
as
know,
an audience member.
Kevin should have been DQ'd earlier in this episode for that dive. Did you see his dive off the
Oh my
platform?
god.
I verbal meme Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at
Yeah.
the TV when it was on. It's like, Did you just see that dive? I was like, he literally put his hands over his head to dive into the water and just jump feet first, totally standing straight up and down.
Yeah. Also, another interesting thing about Say, I thought, after the tribal council, this is how I know that it's not an act for Say, because you just had tribal council. There is, and things went your way. There's no reason for you to have any kind of emotional reaction, really, to anything. And I forget how Mary starts the conversation, but Say pretty much says to her, like, yeah, I wasn't expecting to see my vote, and essentially is like mad at her for, she says, lying to her. She's like, you lied to me. You wrote my name down. And Mary's like, every fucking person here just lied to me. What's the fucking, how are we arguing about this? You just won. Why are you bitching?
Yeah.
And that's like that's Say core. When people do those core. Little highlight TikToks of, insert person core. This is Say core right here.
Yes.
That argument existing.
Yeah.
That's just her in a nutshell. And also when she says, she's convinced that Mary probably has something, and before Mary even comes back.
I was gonna say this was a logical fallacy inside of a logical fallacy with this.
Right. She decided that Mary was hiding something from them before she even came back, before Mary even gave the spiel. And Mary actually is 100% honest, which it's easy to do when you lost your vote. So I'm not going to give her a ton of credit, but and Say says, well, you don't seem too bummed. As in, like, yeah, you're probably lying, and you're not that mad because you're not in that bad of a spot.
In the case that she doesn't have something, what can she possibly say there to change Say's mind? She can't. That's why it's not a good, like, if you've already made up your mind about it. So
yeah, it actually I mean, I hate the journeys anyway. Very underrated hate I have is when the people who, when someone comes back, they are convinced one way or the other that they got an advantage or lost their vote, or even if they're right, I hate anyone being like, I could tell she had it, or I could tell she didn't have it, because I bet there was one person who said that either way, and they picked the one that the person was correct, and they're having some kind of TV moment. I think David did that too on the Orange Tribe.
Was this not an unscheduled journey? Why did they do this? This was not a journey previously, right?
Yeah, because I mean, are you saying because they usually do them after the challenge?
I meant in this episode, with the number of, didn't they do one last week too?
I felt
back to back.
They did do one last week.
I don't know.
I feel like I guess I haven't been paying close enough attention. I feel like in the new era, we get like 4 or 5 journeys, I would say, in the pre-merge. No, I don't know if it's quite one per episode. But they kind of seem to be sprinkled in a bit randomly, but I feel like they want probably like 75% of people to go on a journey. Is kind of their,
I think that should be a question in the Survivor 50. Anti-journey, because whoever goes is immediately target. Most of the time. I would never want to go on a journey.
Me neither. I would just want to play the puzzle.
Yeah, right. Give me the puzzle afterwards. I would have the person who went on the journey explain the puzzle to me, and then I would recreate it to do the puzzle.
Yeah. Like, I don't care if you're lying or telling the truth. I just want to do the puzzle.
Yeah, I was like, can you build it for me, please? I'm not trying to pick up on any minor inconsistencies in your story. I just want to do it.
As the person goes, I'm going to say, I'm targeting you tonight, and the only way you win my trust back is if you bring the puzzle back so I can play.
Puzzle not it was easy, right? This was an easy puzzle.
Yeah, Thomas had it solved for like way longer than when he realized, which was he
was like, when you get to the third row, they only go in order.
Yeah. Right, he's like, when you get to the third order, you're just stuck. And the first 2 are solved, and he has like 13, 14, 15, 11, 12, and he's like, fuck? Let me see. Like, you fucking dumbass, dude. What that was so stupid. And it's you know how the pieces move. You solved two rows.
Yeah.
Like, why do you? I guess it is a touch of like a foreign concept to be like, I'll just take it off the end of this row and put it back on that row.
Yeah.
You feel like you're not doing anything, but like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that topic, Thomas got a steal a vote. Mitch got a block a vote, and steal a vote's better than a block a vote. Voice crack. I think, right?
By a number of votes affected, number of votes you can control. Yes, I would argue that a block a vote is probably utilized better historically.
I agree, but yeah, the steal a vote is essentially a block a vote
Plus an extra vote.
but then you get to vote again.
Yeah, block a vote and an extra vote. Combine them.
Right. But yeah, we had two different approaches here. We could talk about well, let's dive into one of the tribes first, and we could start with this. Let's start with Mitch here. So Mitch, he solves the puzzle. He gets a block of vote. He solved this pretty easily. I think he was crushing it in the challenges this week.
I like Mitch a lot. I'm a big fan. I wish there wasn't that segment with him where they were like, Mitch is pretty good. Maybe we think about voting. I wish that didn't exist because I like him a lot. He's one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, and it really is. We speculated last week if this group, they just hate charity, and Mitch seems to be the only one who's just not in that group. And then it was confirmed this week he's talking to Charity, and then David congregates a meeting of the minds on the Orange Tribe, and he says, "God, wish he wasn't. I wish he didn't like Charity. Otherwise, he'd be cool." But yeah, so Mitch decides he is instantly going to tell the entire tribe that he decided to play. He won the challenge, and he has a block of vote. He tells them exactly what the advantage is. And I think it's an interesting strategy. I think that at the end of the day, I think you can find silver linings in difficult situations by doing this, but I think regardless, it is a mistake to tell every single person on your tribe that you have an advantage.
Yeah, I would agree. This is the Kumbaya tribe, the comic relief tribe, as we've referred to them last episode, I believe. So if you're gonna have a group of people that you're gonna tell, this is a good, combination of, personalities and the way the tribe is set up. This is a good mesh to be honest with. Being honest on green would be a horrible decision if you had something. Mary was honest and she didn't have something, but they didn't believe her anyway. So what would they not have believed her if she came back and was like, "Oh yeah, I have an idol"? Like, Say would have been like, "She doesn't have an idol. She's just trying not to get us to get us not to vote for her."
Right.
Like, she's lying regardless. So, maybe then you do be honest. I don't know. But, so, Mitch, yeah, I agree that ultimately it ends up putting a target on your back. When you think, though, that you're with, the majority and, like, they have a clear vote. Maybe he doesn't know they're voting Charity or that they think they should be voting Charity. I don't know. But from his perspective, he's like, why wouldn't I tell them, where I'm in with them? So I get it. But I do agree that the less information you need to divulge, the better, by and large.
Yeah, I feel like there's always a handful of people like this in a season. And it's the guy that everybody really likes, but if you like take a step back and you're like, who are their allies? They don't really have any. It almost well, this is a reach of an example, but kind of reminds me of Ricard in 41 when in the post merge when they had the Shan, Liana, Danny, and Deshawn alliance, and he was like with Shan, and because of that, they never targeted him. They were like planning to target everybody else, and then it got flipped, and they all got voted out, and then Ricard was, or other than Deshawn, he was the last one left. Um, but it was like push came to shove. Like if that group was successful in their mission of getting to the end together, he's just a sitting duck, and I
Right.
feel like that's similar to Mitch, where um, to the like yeah to them on the island it's like yeah we've got this group of five and then you get to the point where there's five people left and to Mitch he's like oh what are we gonna do and everyone else is like well
Well, it's
we've
Mitch.
got a group of four
Yeah.
actually sorry but yeah so I have Mitch like ranked in I was actually a little bit lower on him just because it seemed like he is a potential target on this group and although there was some people who appreciated him being completely honest we also got a couple kind of brutally honest confessionals of awesome for him, really like him, probably shouldn't have told us that.
Right. And those are the two types of survivor players. One person looks at that and says, that's someone who I want to work with because they're honest with me. And then the other
Mm-hmm.
person says, he needs to go because he might use it against me. And nothing wrong with either approach, I don't think. It's just all about how you utilize that information that you get, right? Um,
Yeah,
but I think that's two survivor players, two camps of survivor players in a nutshell.
yeah. And I think our other interesting thing here was we got well on both beaches we've had beware advantages found. Kyle is going to find the beware advantage. He finds it in front of David, and he's going to tell Camilla right away. I think it's the greatest honor that you can receive here is being asked to help someone with the beware advantage. You're like, okay, I appear to be the smartest person on this tribe.
Right, exactly.
Uh,
Again, maybe this is because we are watching the show. These are not hard puzzles. Why is everyone struggling with them?
yeah, I think that to for this, it's not easy by any means. It seems like decently hard work. I don't know that you gain that much more by having someone else help you unless you are going to tribal that night and you have to solve it in a set amount of time. I don't know that employing another person actually helps you out because both Star and Kyle were along the lines of what was correct. Like they would have solved it if they gave themselves enough time. And Say was the same way, where she was like, "Oh yeah, this is how everything is connected." And if you fucking stare at it long enough, you'll figure it out yourself. And I don't know why everyone. It's very interesting to me that three different tribes who did not intersect at all are now the three people that found their beware advantages all like snap told someone else and like asked for
Yeah,
extra
because
help.
people that it hasn't happened in the past, has it? We haven't seen like people be like, "Oh, can you solve this beware advantage for me?" We've seen two people go together if they like find it together and kind of
Yeah,
like work together, but like never have we seen someone finds it and is like, "Can't solve it. I need to give it to somebody else to solve to give me the idol." Like,
right.
and we get a lot of that, those confessionals of those people who are asked to help, like kind of kicking around like, do we really want to help them with this? Like, what if we just don't and they don't solve it and then they don't have an idol and then we vote them off?
Right. And there was two schools of thought here, and it's kind of like what you said, the Kumbaya Orange tribe, Camilla, she's really into her alliance and her and Kyle are working together and she pretty happily like she wants to sit there. We get a confessional about her strategy, kind of going through what she's looking at there,
Mm.
and she figures it out. And now Kyle has an idol. Um, and so this group of four and potentially Mitch to me is reading as a pretty solid group. I kind of have a take actually.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
I think I think Green is so bad that I think there's only one tribal council between orange and purple. And at that point, despite like how good purples looked at the physical portions, I mean, orange won the challenge outright today. And I think they could be the flawless tribe, all six go. Because Charity, to me, is not getting the same attention in the edit of someone who's about to go home as like Star. And I mean, Star, no matter how you slice it, would have been all over the edit tonight.
Right.
But to me, she's been like, this is the person that's going to go from the Purple Tribe. But
That was kind of my vibe from. Yeah, I'm not really going to go off of this past episode just because she found a Beware advantage, so it's going to be heavily centered around her anyway. Even the first week, I was kind of like, yeah, the clear bottom two in were like the green tribe. My clear takeaways were the green tribe is a mess. They suck, and Star is also the after them. It's Star. And then I didn't really have. I was like, yeah, Charity's like kind of on the bottom right now, but like I didn't really feel strongly that like she's really even the worst player on the tribe. But like the edit made it clear, green Star. That's what I got from episode one. So I think you might be right about that. I'm interested to see what happens with her. I doubt that. I have a take here. I doubt that any of these people play their idol correctly. I thought that last night, and then Say didn't play it correctly. So that's a little like I didn't tell you that, so it doesn't really count. But I was thinking that honestly, that like none of them were gonna play it right because of just who has them. But one for one on not
yeah.
playing them right.
So yeah, that kind of does segue to the Purple Tribe. To me, there are two stars of the show from the Purple Tribe in this episode. One is Star. Like we said, she finds the Beware advantage. She has a lot to do in this episode. The other person is Thomas, who has a very interesting edit brewing so far.
He does.
I think we could start with Star because Thomas's stuff kind of spins off from that. So, one person I really dropped in the rankings this week was Eva because she has this discussion with Star, which is kind of Star's jumping off point for becoming a point of view character in this episode, is they're talking about the challenge before they're even at the challenge, and Eva's like, yeah, so like you two are smart, us three are strong, Star, you can sit out. And it's just very stupid to ever talk about this before you have to. I think it's the easiest out that you have is when you have to kind of convince somebody to sit out is look at the challenge first and be like, well, if you're not good at like this one's swimming, right? Really swimming heavy. It's like if anybody sucks at swimming, just say it right now and then we'll keep going.
Right.
So, not great from Eva. But Star, she's like, fuck, okay, Eva wants me to sit out. She's not really valuing me. Nobody really jumps in one way or the other, but Star seemingly a little bit of on an island. So she is going to go out and find the Beware advantage. And she does find it. And this, every time where something happened, I was like, ooh, that was interesting. The next moment topped it for me, where I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. She found it. She says, I got to tell somebody. I was like, ooh, okay, who's she going to tell? She wants Eve out, right? How ironic is it that she tells Joe, Eva's sworn shield in this game? And I was like, okay, that's pretty crazy. And then Joe immediately says, well, okay, thank you for telling me. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be good at this. Let's bring in someone else. And Star's like, oh, yeah, let's make a 3-person alliance around this. Okay. And so Joe says, let's do Shaheen. So this is another one of, congrats, Shaheen. Everyone thinks that you are the smartest person on the Purple Tribe.
Yes.
So, and he is kind of having this, so he starts an internal dialogue about what should I do here, right? And it's essentially, do I help Star? Do I just go balls to wall, do everything I can as if this was my own idol, and do everything I can, solve it for her so she has the idol, I'll then know where the idol is, and that's the situation. and probably you're gaining an ally in that moment. Or he says, do I, not work quite as fast as I can and, just try to, lollygag just a little bit and not solve it for her pretty much. And he's kind of going back and forth and he's having that thought process that you mentioned earlier. Um, and then something I was topped again.
Mm-hmm.
Something even more interesting happens where she has created a 3-person alliance and she still wants Eva out. And she says, how about I make another 3-person alliance with the other 2 people?
Mm-hmm.
And I will also tell them that I want Eva out. And so she's going to go to Thomas and Bianca. And she tells them about it. And little does she know that all of the guys are working together. So this information flows pretty freely back and forth.
There's nothing like a surefire way. There's no better way to make sure that the information you're telling gets back to the person you don't want to hear it than telling everyone on the tribe except that person always
Yeah.
gets back to the person. Like that's
Yeah,
such a
this
bad
is
way to handle it.
it's the Chris Noble where you're like, well, I gotta think that every single person here likes me more than Dominic, right? So why don't I bring 10 people, everyone except for Dominic's best friend, to the water well, and this foolproof plan can go off without a hitch. But yeah, look, it's interesting. Star is strictly entertainment value. I'm not even gonna evaluate her on a strategic level, to be honest. But this is very interesting that Thomas and Shaheen, so they're pretty much like, oh, okay, he's employed both of us to try to solve this.
Mm-hmm.
And Shaheen's like, yeah, what should I do? Like, essentially, should I solve it for her or not? And Thomas is like, fucking throw it away. And he's like, wait, what? And so I think this is very interesting because the Joe and Eva of it all is interesting. And Thomas has been a pretty big viewpoint character and he has Bianca, and Shaheen is a very interesting character in this group because he reads as very smart. He's seemingly in a great position with everybody, but not necessarily anybody's number one. I'd say like a lot of people would be like, yeah, Shaheen is my second closest ally,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he's probably the safest person on this tribe, and he's gonna have a lot to say. And I think this is why I've got him number 2 in the rankings. I honestly kind of feel like I maybe should have him number 1. Is he does a great job of, he's like, okay, Thomas did this thing. I don't really love that he just did that. I'm on to Thomas at this point. But there's no, you haven't lost a challenge. You're not going to tribal. There's no real mobilization against anybody besides Star and Eva. And there's no reason to push for this. And so I really like that in confessional, he says, okay, this is now on my radar. I'm going to stick that in my back pocket, but I'm thinking about it. And I really appreciate a player who can make a great read and understand, like, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you know that you're suspicious of Thomas does not mean you need to vote Thomas out right this second.
Right.
Which, hey, say you could maybe learn a thing or two.
Yeah. Right. I'm gonna color commentary as I so often do here. You're more the play-by-play of the color commentary
Sure.
of the duo right now. I'm gonna backtrack slightly to the beginning of your star. You were on a roll with it, and then I was topped by this, and then I was topped by this. So I want to make sure.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I want to make sure you finish your thought. So, Star and Eva, the genesis of this. I missed this conversation. I was doing something, and Alyssa explained it to me when I got back. Her read from that was that Star misinterpreted what Eva was saying. That Eva didn't mean when, oh, these people are smart, these people are strong, so that means you're sitting out. Like, Alyssa's read from that was that's not what Eva meant. Like,
I would argue it's exactly what she meant, to be honest.
Like I said, I did not see it, but I was getting
as close to verbatim as I can get. is they were just sitting there and they're like, hey, we got a challenge later. And they're like, oh man, we got to sit somebody out. And Eva points to herself, Joe, and Shaheen and says, well, we don't really want to sit any of the three of us out. And she points to Thomas and Bianca and she says, and you guys are, I think she either said, you guys are the brains or we need you guys for the puzzle. And she said, so Star, you could sit out. Is pretty close. I would say that's about 90% accurate.
Gotcha. Because, and she didn't even bring it up, and Alyssa didn't even bring it up in the moment. There was a confessional later where Star was saying, like, where she was kind of explaining why she was going after Eva. And Alyssa was like, Eva didn't say that. And I was like, I must
There was a little, Star was a little Spiral Squad, too,
yeah.
I will say.
Alyssa's interpretation was, like, more that, okay, the three of us don't really want to sit out. We know they're really good at puzzles, so we need them in every challenge for puzzles. Star, do you mind? Like, it was more of like a, hey, do you, like a question. Like, Star, are you good with sitting out in this scenario?
Yeah, and I will give Star credit. She did not blow up in the moment. She was like, yeah, that's cool, like, whatever. Like, she was kind of, on that wavelength.
Like I said, I didn't see it, but...
Right, but then the interesting part about this is it's not a puzzle. It's dexterity at the end of this challenge.
Yeah.
Which means this conversation didn't even need to be had. You could easily keep the three physically strong people in, and then you could decide, okay, is this still a strength for Thomas and Bianca, or do we want to put Star in, whatever? And
yes.
Like I said, swimming challenges are so, like, I feel like myself, like I'm above average athleticism and in puzzles to where I'd probably wouldn't sit out of a challenge ever, really. So I am a very slow swimmer. I would be upfront with the fact that, like, unless someone cannot swim, I'm a decent person to sit out of this swimming challenge.
I think, me personally, contrary to what you may think, I would be very bad at the survivor puzzles. I'm horrible at jigsaw puzzles, and that's like mostly, they're like kind of often 3D jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah.
I would never volunteer to do a survivor puzzle because I would ruin it. But swimming, I am good swimming. I'm good swimming, so. But regardless.
So you'd be in it.
Moving on to Star finding the Beware advantage. Yeah, immediately makes a good internal recognition saying, I know it's not a good idea to tell anyone when you find these. And I was like, good, that's right. So your next sentence should be, so I'm not going to tell anyone about it. So I'm going to bring one person in to tell about it. And then...
You shouldn't tell anyone, so I'll only tell one person.
Yeah. If you have one, do you have none? No. So she then brings Joe in, like you said. Then should have cut it off there. Joe, like, she should have, like, you gotta cut your losses, right? Like, it's like a, what is it with, like, money? A sunk cost. And, like, you're like, okay, Joe wasn't any good he's at least telling me he's not any good at solving these types of puzzles. Maybe I'll just go ahead and try it myself. But then Joe suggests, oh, maybe we bring someone else in. She goes, that's even better. So, like, immediately double contradicting herself from before. My main take from the whole Shaheen and Thomas interaction, initially, like, what Thomas said is also my initial thought. Initially, what I'm thinking is, someone gave you this to help them solve, just fucking throw it away. And just throw it away. But I understand why.
The fallout of someone giving you something and you, like, ripping it up or throwing it into the ocean or something, like, that reads so bad to the rest of the tribe.
Horrible. But that was, like, a very villainous... Thomas has some villain in him, I believe.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think so, too.
But that would be my initial reaction, is like, I'm just going to get rid of this thing. But then, you come to your senses and you're like, that's probably the worst possible decision. Even worse than solving it immediately and giving back to them, because at least then you have a potential ally. So I thought that was funny. I don't think he's necessarily going to play reckless like that. I thought it was just a funny suggestion, and it kind of read from the edit as kind of comedy a little bit. But Shaheen is my way too early pick to be the guy that gets voted out by the winner.
Yeah, he's the pelt or
Yes.
he's hang Shaheen on your
He's the we got to
mantle
get this
if you
guy
win the
out or
game.
he's going to win the game, and then whoever gets him out is going to win the game. He's my pick for that right now.
Yeah, I do have a vibe from him of the closest thing to build a survivor player in a lab of
Yes.
this season is he's very smart. He can definitely hold his own physically in the challenges. Seems to be pretty socially adept.
Mm-hmm.
I would say he is the most triple threat person in this group.
I would agree.
I would say. Um, Thomas also though he found his what was it, steal a vote.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure if Mary found hers, she would have got an extra vote. I think that is the completing the holy
The
trinity
Trinity.
of, yeah, you could have one advantage where you block, one where you gain one, and then one where you do both.
But
So
somehow they're all the same person.
right. I don't know how they decided who got what. I feel like
It was
Mitch.
probably random.
I know, but it's kind of bullshit. Well, okay, if they can choose whatever table they want to go to, then I'm fine with it. If they say, okay, you go to this table, you go to this table, and then
That's a little
that's not coach.
tampering.
I do think that out of these three people, they'd probably want Mitch to have the best one, I think. If it's up to Jeff, come on.
I think they may want Mary to have the best one because she's clearly on the bottom, and they want the chaos.
Yeah, but I think Jeff really loves Mitch.
That's true. He does. He does.
Yeah. But yeah, so Thomas.
He's clearly Jeff's favorite this season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
By far. I like him too. Like I said, he's my favorite. I think he might be my favorite.
Yeah, I like Mitch too. But yeah, so Thomas he's gonna end up. What I think he tells everybody that he lost his vote. Is that what he says? Or no, he says he didn't play.
He says he didn't play. He didn't
it.
participate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I think is probably the best lie that you can tell, because you could argue that like you didn't even see the puzzle, right? Like you opted out before you even got to that point. Like you can't just see the puzzle and be like, oh, I'm bad at that, I'm not going to do it. He just says like, yeah, my vote's too valuable to me. That kind of reads as fishy to me too, though, for the distinct purpose of Star being so clearly on the outs with everyone else. Like if everyone thinks, like if the guys think that you are like the core of the tribe, and then you have Eve and Bianca kind of, they're your protons and electrons there, or no, just the electrons float around the outside. But yeah, and then Star's like in
protons
Narnia.
and neutrons float together.
Right. So you're right in the nucleus. There you go.
Nice.
But yeah, so it just, to me, him losing his vote isn't the end of the world if this tribe actually has to go to a tribal council. Like, your alliance is not going to be like, fuck, I really wish Thomas had his vote. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, this is back to kind of how we were talking before. Like, what do you do in this scenario? And it's something I think we've talked about before, and it's something that every season, multiple times, the players have to make a decision on. Is like, how do you confront your tribe, or like, what do you say? And I think, like you said, telling the truth is probably, depending on your scenario, probably one of the better things to do in the moment, but worse in the long run. I think, yeah, saying you didn't play reads fishy to me because just metagaming a little bit, like Survivor doesn't very often give you the opportunity to just not do something if you don't want to do it. The Beware advantage, I guess, in a sense, you could, but people just take it anyway. But I think I would agree with you, that is the best answer. Just be like, yeah, I just didn't play, I just want my vote. Too bad.
Yeah.
Even
I do think you can deflect with the Beware advantage. If you did lose your vote and then people start counting votes at the next tribal, you're like, what the fuck happened? You're like, well, somebody probably found a Beware advantage and lost their vote.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good idea. You could deflect. Can you not vote if you don't want to? Can you abstain?
I don't believe you can. And you can't vote for yourself.
Because you could always, say you lost your vote, but you didn't, and then just not vote anyway. Feel like, yeah, it checks out. The numbers check out.
Yeah, I wonder if you could
Does
just.
Jeff read all of the votes even after the majority is read?
No.
So they just know that everyone else, even on the island, that everyone else in the thing voted for.
Right.
But then the math, you would have to make sure the math checked out in your favor.
Yeah, I was thinking really hard about this today because I was trying to think of if there was, if you have like a 4-2 advantage, say, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you lose your vote, then the person will still go home 3-2. But if there were 6 votes, at 3-2, it's not clear. They'd have to read the sixth vote.
Read the sixth vote.
Which means they would know that there's only 5. So I was trying to think of if there's a way to make it like a 3-1-1, but then I was like, or sorry, a 4-1-1, because in that scenario, when the third vote comes, it is enough. But you have to be on the bottom, and then it's like you're really playing with fire.
I would have to think about it. You got to push it from an even number to an odd number of votes, like that are on your side. Is that right? Like if you
odd
think
to
you
even, I think
is it the opposite? You think you have 5, but you actually have 4, or you think you have.
Or sorry, no, you're right.
I think I'm right. Yeah, I think it's you actually have. You think you have 4, but you really have 3. So it doesn't flip the how many he reads, because it has to be. It's like divisible by 2 if you round. When you divide them, I think is how it has to work out.
This works a lot better with 2 big tribes.
That's what I was gonna say. You could just have a bigger majority, and then it's not a big deal.
Right. But yeah, so other things here. I thought I said how boring challenges have been.
Mm-hmm.
This one was there was some interesting stuff. Chrissy took a big fall coming off that balance beam.
I had an audible reaction to that, I think, when she did it.
I rewound it. I was like, oh shit, okay.
It's like America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah.
They're playing like boings and stuff, like sound effects.
She kind of like, she hit and she kind of was like, ugh, like, and then she kind of hopped back into her feet, but there was a 1 or 2 seconds of like, I'm just gonna sit here for a second.
Yeah, and then Thomas gets poked in the eye.
Yeah, that was in the preview for next time. Don't want to take too much stock in preview for next time usually, but one thing is for sure, he does have a black eye.
He does. It was very visible.
But yeah, Bianca stabbed him in the face.
Yeah.
And then I also had Cedric. Just, he's so bad. And also Mitch draining 3s. That was
Bianca is our most irrelevant person of the season so far.
Yep, only 2 confessionals.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Lagging behind. She did have a good tweet today where she said something about like something that'll like really humble you is like getting purpled on Survivor. And I was like, okay.
That's funny.
Yeah.
At least she does.
Yeah, at least if you stick around a little longer, you're not like the least edited person.
That's true. That's how you know she sticks around for a little bit. Is her edit is the purple edit.
Yeah, I wonder if they do this intentionally, where they say they pick a person and they're like, this guy. It was Rome and Banu. Now it's Say of like, they're gonna have an unbelievable number of confessionals.
I think
for their placement.
Naturally have them. They're naturally driving the story.
That's true. It is kind of funny that we've had Banu in 4 episodes and then Rome in, I think, 5 or 6 maybe. 6 or 7, I guess. Of like Rome was, I think, maybe 6th or 7th in confessionals, but he's like close to like 4th.
Mm-hmm. Banu's run was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Purely unbelievable.
I think he had like 45 or something like that in 4 episodes.
I was like, oh my god, I never want to see this person again.
Yeah. Yeah, it basically, Say's had 14 per episode through 2 episodes. She'd have to do it 2 more times to reach Banu status.
She's getting to like Liz status for me.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Um, Say we could run down the rankings real quick. These are, I mean, it's early, but I think we've solidified to an extent here, where we have our top four. There was a gap between 4 and 5. We got Joe, Shaheen, Camilla, Kyle. I think are kind of the two people in the two best positions on the two best tribes.
Right.
It's kind of what's going on there. And then we've got Chrissy at number 5, Thomas at 6, Bianca at 7, David 8, and Eva 9. And our top 9, this portion was a little jumbled, but we both had the same people in our top 9 in different orders. I think Mitch at 10, he might be the line for at least for the preseason or the pre-merge, because once it's an individual game, it's a little different. But I think with how his tribe dynamics are, he can only raise so high in these rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to be, his status will be best player that's not necessarily in a great spot guy. And then we had Cedric, Charity, Justin, Mary, Star, Say, the whole green tribe in the
just
shitter.
as a note, had Star 12th and put the entire green tribe as my last 4
Yeah,
to
I
make a
did
point.
see that. The one thing that saved, or so her and Mary were tied. The one thing that saved Mary from being 15th by herself was I put her at the top of the green tribe as a point of emphasis.
That's a point of
Or no,
emphasis.
sorry, I had Cedric ahead of her, but yeah, it was, yeah. So that brings us to the done chain. So it is Dave's to give both of our first pick
Gonzo.
gone to Ponderosa.
Yep.
And
I don't
so
even know what to say about that.
the very brief recap is that I have Say done chained. Dave is about to make his first.
And Dave does not have Say Unchained. And he will not.
Whoa! I agree, I think.
Yeah, I don't think she's I think we're getting too much of her. She's getting the Banu edit of we're just gonna hit you over the head with her until every single possible fan is so sick of her that then she'll go. Then she's there one more week and then she'll go.
Yeah.
I am gonna pick someone from the Green Tribe because I'm not rolling the dice on anybody else.
Okay.
And it's not gonna be Say, which means it's gonna be Mary.
Oh, Mary.
I just think that I would be shocked if they don't go again. To be honest.
Yeah.
And I don't think Cedric and Say turn on each other, and Justin is not going to Rocks for Mary.
Yeah, I think that there is my dream scenario for this tribe is, I think, for Say to turn on either Cedric or Justin next. And then they have a final 3 where on that tribe of Mary, Say, and one of those two. And whoever is still there, they kind of have a heart-to-heart moment with Mary of like, why am I putting up with Say? I could just be with sweet little Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And they get rid of Say.
Yeah.
On Merge Eve. I would love that.
I don't know. I want the most heartbreak for Say as possible. However we can facilitate that, that's what I want.
Yeah, I want that too, but I also don't want her to get too far to where she like walks. This is so mean. I don't want her to walk away from Survivor thinking she did a good job.
That's exactly what I was like. She can't just like she can't. I'm thinking like ultimate destruction is she wipes out everyone on her tribe that she wants to, and then they swap for her thinking she's the best player ever, and then she immediately goes because she. But then she's just gonna.
Then you could cry swap screwed.
Yeah, right. And then she's gonna be like, yeah, I'm not actually bad. Like, it was just unlucky or something. Like, I need her to. Maybe it's a slow burn. Maybe she's like a goat. Like that would be. I want 0 vote finalist. Is what I.
Yeah.
Keep her around. She'll have 2,000 confessionals by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think for me it's last vote of the pre-merge is so perfect because it's you get a little bit of runway with her to keep like building her up as a villain.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the nobody wants to be pre-merge. You don't want it. You don't want it.
Yeah.
And you also don't want to be the like mergatory, because then it's like it could be a little chaotic and there's a lot of excuses you could point to.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to sit in a pile of her own making at
Yes.
the end of the pre-merge, and have it bite her in the ass. I think that's
Yeah.
my favorite.
I want Cedric to turn on her, and I want maximum destruction. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
I'll flesh it out for next week.
I do think Cedric, he had the moment of like I'm going to tell her, like, actively try your best to remain calm, and she couldn't do it. And I wonder if he's starting to feel like she's maybe a bit of a liability.
Yeah, I don't think he's good enough to recognize that. Maybe I don't want to play this game with her. I don't know if he's thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But okay, well, yeah, that's gonna do it for the recap for the second episode of Survivor 48, Final 17. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.